right, welcome to the Greenleaf podcast. This is our deal by deal show where we go through the specifics of how deals are happening. So we're excited today. We have Mike Giallanza with us today, so thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Josh, ready to get started. So Mike, we met you a few months ago, almost a year ago now, through one of our investor network, right? And it's got an interesting story of the business you started, and that it's wildly different than what Josh and I do. But it seems like a cool ride that you've been on.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's been quite a ride.
When did you start it?
It's 4 years in a couple weeks, actually.
So is it right before COVID or right at COVID?
I think it was right after.
Right after?
Yeah, there's still the remnants it was in the wake. In the wake of COVID. So
What'd you do before that?
I've been doing this for a long time, a long time. I've been doing it for about 15 years, but just working for firms that do this. So we got to a point after the last couple firms we had worked for, my business partner and I, that we were just like, I think if we did this, we could do it our own way and make it, we could do it the way we wanted to do it.
Yeah.
So that's what we did, and it's been very successful so far.
Cool.
So far, so good.
Yeah. So Mike, your company's name is StellarMettle.
StellarMettle Placements. Yep.
Yeah, and you are working a lot in the tech space right now, but you work in all sorts of industries. But tech right now, it seems where a lot of the insanity is happening on the employment side.
Yes, tech is nuts. We end up doing a lot in tech, essentially because it can be so hard it can be very hard to obtain talent, all the way through to the end. It's very hot. People are throwing money at the situation, and we end up getting brought in, kind of in the 11th hour as a last resort, and that's kind of how we were successful coming up in this business.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
So we're in Atlanta. How's the Atlanta tech scene versus national? And we were talking a little bit that people can kind of work anywhere now. So
Yeah, from what we see in Atlanta, it does very well. I'd say it's one of the hotter markets in the country, especially in the tech scene.
For employment or for employees? Because if you can place, if Silicon Valley needs employees, are they coming to Atlanta to hire, like remote people?
Well, they could. From what we've seen ever since COVID is things have kind of morphed into a national marketplace. So it's the regional variance and what you've seen in the past where there's a national average, and then in Atlanta you add 10% to accommodate for that. That really hasn't been happening with all the remote. Once people saw they could work remote, it changed everything. So you could have someone in Atlanta, who can raise their hand and get a job in Silicon Valley remotely, maybe earning a Silicon Valley wage, but still enjoying their life here in Atlanta. So that changed everything. That continues to this day. A lot of people that we get access to, who we wouldn't normally, who are top 1% candidates, are raising their hand because their company's asking them to come back on site. So that is happening quite a bit. But yeah, if you're in a certain space, you can raise your hand and work anywhere in the country and just command whatever salary you want.
Wow. And so that starts in tech, but is that like the engineering side, the sales side, the software side, like?
I'd say it's largely software adjacent. So the administration of software, even name brand software that needs support and guidance when it's being implemented or upgrade enhanced. But yes, a lot of it is software engineering, and they can just kind of make their own. They can kind of name it and get it in certain areas within technology.
Is this the news articles where Meta's paying people $100 million?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what they're getting paid for. And they didn't call me, which is surprising. I don't know why they didn't.
Your coding skills are not.
I guess they're not very good.
Yet, yeah.
I don't know. I put it in my LinkedIn profile, like, call me.
Really good at coding.
That's all you need.
Yeah. But apparently it takes more than that.
Maybe put the really, really good at coding.
Really, really, just keep adding it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Ridiculous.
that'll pop up in our search.
That'll pop up.
Yeah, no problem.
That's what you're looking for. You can't.
Yeah.
It's really, really good.
Yeah,
coding.
that's complex Boolean that will snag you right out with a really, really good.
So I mean, that's obviously like one-off, random cases where that situation is happening. But I mean, it just shows how robust it is right now in the demand that's there.
It is, yeah, and I think it's different verticals of the industry, or different industries are still experiencing very serious hypergrowth. So you have some that may be stagnant or are paused, but there are certain areas that are just accelerating. And from what I'm seeing, traversing in from the second quarter into the third quarter, the hiring has really went off the rails, the demand. So things have really taken off just here in the last few weeks, which I take as a really good sign to finish out the year and what the economy will look like.
What economic indicators are you looking at to say that things are doing well in this area or not doing well?
For me, I like to look at certain industries like manufacturing and industries related to that when they start really hiring again, and I know that's typically a leader of what the rest, what's going to happen with the rest of the economy. That's how it's been. I have some clients that I've seen or been working with for a while that you can tell when they're paused, everything else kind of slows down, and when they start heating up, then a few months later,
Everything else falls through there.
But I can tell you, we've had clients that have been dormant for a couple years now that just all of a sudden, as soon as we rolled into this quarter, started hiring insanely. So I take that as a very good sign, and this is in several different verticals of our industry verticals.
Yeah.
So
Exciting. One of the big things out there right now is just data centers, and on
Yes.
the real estate side, people are just like, "Are you going to invest in data centers?" It's like, well, we typically buy buildings that are $5 to $15 million, and data centers cost $2 billion, so it's a little bit out of our typical price bucket, right?
Yeah.
You haven't found any cheap ones, have you?
I've been looking. I have a buddy that's actually aggregating a lot of land off of I-20 to basically what he's doing is he's buying the land, he's working with the power companies to basically get power to the land and then selling it to data centers. Small numbers, relatively speaking, to billions of dollars, but he's doing pretty
Yeah.
well with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
But,
an angle.
but there's the whole part of building the data center, then there's
Yeah.
the whole actually using it.
Yeah.
Right. So is that impacting your space at all, or what are you seeing in the?
yes, that's one of the industries I'd say are very hot right now, expanding at a high rate. It's very much in demand. It's not going anywhere. Everything is moving towards that. So
Who works at a data center?
who would
I
you
just imagine walking to a building that's somewhere around 10 million square feet that you can't see the end of it, and there's just a bunch of blinking lights.
Yes,
With
essentially.
some engineer hidden under a rock.
Yeah.
Like gets a call.
There
like,
are,
once
the
a
guys
year.
are back there maintaining it, and
Yeah.
customers come in and out, and we'll do stuff with their own equipment. But there's typically maybe a couple, maybe one main office where you have just like any other major company. They need all types of systems to manage their clients, to manage internally, their accounting and their finance. So, but yes, largely, if it's not one of those center hubs, it's there's a few windows, or there's a few offices with glass doors, and the rest is just it's very
the
interesting.
blinking
If you've
lights?
never toured one there, it's really interesting. But yeah, blinking lights, stacks and stacks and racks all everywhere. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, we've normally, on the real estate side, we buy some basically old raised floor buildings and we're tearing it all out. It's all like obsolete stuff. But none of it is at the scale of like a new data center, just from the square footage size or the span height or the land use. A lot of the stuff that we see is all antiquated, really of no value from a raised floor.
Yeah, from a
data
data center
center.
standpoint, it can't be retrofitted or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Scrap.
But the new ones it looks awesome on paper, especially when we see like the real estate OMs of what these things are and how big they are. It's like, this looks fascinating.
We generally have more windows.
Yes.
Yeah.
More windows. Yeah.
Not safe.
I think ours are mostly old buildings that were converted to have some data center use in them.
Right.
And that's obviously they go into actually big data centers. Yeah. So from getting into the weeds of an actual deal with one of these roles that someone raises their hand and they say, hey, I'm willing to work anywhere in the country now. Are you starting with the employer side or are you starting with the employee side?
It's almost always the employer. So we're driven largely by relationships. So that's why a lot of times we span a lot of these different tech and finance and marketing. It's wherever our relationship leads, we follow and we try to take care of that person no matter what they may need. But it's almost entirely. I mention that because sometimes we'll have a really good client say I got laid off or I'm looking, and then we'll take it and do some kind of reversed headhunting like back in the day we used to do, and just scouting networks and seeing what we can do behind the scenes. A lot of director, VP and up, those don't necessarily get posted on out on the jobs page, and they're worked through networks and behind the scenes. So if we can help them with that, we will. But I would say the lion's share of what we do always begins with the client. We need a requisition that is approved, it's budgeted and approved, and the headcount's open. They'll reach out to me, and if we already have a relationship, they'll reach out to me, and then I need to do an intake call, an information gathering call to find out exactly what they need. So we may have a job description, but what I actually need is Greenleaf, I need to come in and hang out with you guys and find out what kind of culture you have, or what the functional stuff is always what messes up the hiring process, because it's not in the job description, and we need to know if they're going to fit with the team. And so things like that are not written on a resume. So a lot of what we do is finding that functional match by developing a relationship with, if you guys were hiring for me, I'd have to get on a call and I'm feeling you out and feeling out what's going to work for you, and then also digging in deeper. And once I get that, I pass it on to my team. So and a lot of times I'll get the team on the call with us, but then they take that to market, and then they go and try to find the right person, bring it back to me, and then I scrub through what they've sent, and then the final product goes over to you to review. So see if you want to interview them, and that's really half the battle at that point. So we go through the interview process, and you guys select someone, and we have to secure them. So that's from a high level.
There's got to be some funny stories in there. First,
there's some wild stuff. Yeah, some stuff that we couldn't even talk about on this podcast for sure.
Yeah.
So
how does that shifted then if it's not necessarily all in person? You're meeting a lot of people too for the first time just on a video call.
We are, yeah. A lot of times we don't even conduct a video call because my business partner and I, we are, as I mentioned, we wanted to do things differently. So we have not followed the typical steps that you would see in creating a staffing firm. So we have no office. We allow all of our employees to be totally remote. But yes, it has changed big time. We have to employ quite a bit of Zoom rooms because for our clients. So I set up, if I have 15 interviews today, I have to coordinate it so that you're in each proper room because it's all video now. All video. I would say it totally swapped from 95% final interviews were on site in person pre-COVID to, I would say, it totally inverted, and it's 95% are video interviews for a final before they make a decision.
Yeah.
So you're largely meeting people for the first time when you go on site for your hybrid, or you're getting your laptop, or you're flying in for a company event for the first time. So that has changed quite a bit, but I think it's across the board.
Yeah. What about, we've heard people just doing like running coding competitions or, kind of vetting processes to just recruit anyone and see who gets through the skills challenge.
Oh, you mean like an open
yeah,
job
like
fair
open,
kind of thing? Yeah, I've heard of that. I haven't been a part of that kind of, that seems more like a startup kind of, it's a cool idea. And we do have clients that will require coding assessments to be completed, and then they evaluate the coding assessment by the candidates. So that's pretty telling, especially for a coder. You can talk a lot, but then you sit down and start coding, and you can tell pretty quickly.
So
they're
gonna catch me. They'll know this.
Yeah, you have no chance, dude. No chance. They got you.
Well, what are some interviews? What do you talk to a coder about? Like, you seem like I don't know any coders. I don't think I could probably carry on a conversation with one. So you seem like a fairly normal guy to how do you have a conversation with a coder?
They're normal people too. Are
they?
They are, yeah.
Okay.
Well, define normal. So largely I am talking with. So the way our business is split, and almost every staffing firm is split like this, where you have a sales side of the house that deals with clients, then you have a recruiting side of the house that exclusively deals with recruiting for the candidates. Because they cannot be, if you run what we call a full desk, which is where you source a job and then you go out and recruit for it, the production drops by a lot more than 50%. Largely I'm dealing with the coders who have proven their functional worth in an organization and are managers, but it's just like anyone else. They have their own unique flair, okay, but you just run through it with them, exactly what they're looking for, and a lot of times what we're doing is just we're bringing the horse to water. So we circle back in. We're very good at closing the deal for them, but a lot of it is brand ambassadorship. So it's acting on the client's behalf to sell this, because you're selling hard. It's not like I have a job and 300 of you, I'll just pick the best one. You're coming to them. They have 3-4 other options at all times that they're entertaining, and you have to be like, here's why ours is great. Here's what this company can do. So you have to know, again, a lot about the client and the company, the benefits, and but be able to extract what is really going to pique their interest. Like what is motivating them? What's their language of love, or why it's always money and one other thing.
What are you seeing out there for one of the things we were talking about earlier is that people are choosing where they want to live and then finding their job later. We already talked about that, and that remote work solves that. But what else are you finding to kind of be the competitive edge to get them over the hump to say yes, and just in general?
I don't know if I could answer that. I don't know if it's one specific thing. I think, to me, no matter what they say, it always comes down to money. That's either number one or tied with number one, no matter what anyone says. I mean, this is a job. You're doing work when you could be doing something else. So it's the money, and if you have competitive money, a lot of it comes down to benefits. And to your point, a lot of it has been coming down to remote work. So if companies are saying hybrid and they want you, in the office 4 days a week, a lot of candidates don't consider that hybrid. They consider that just a 4-day work week. So the flexibility with being on site, a lot of candidates have been factoring in. This is shocking to me, but they have been factoring in the wear and tear to their car, the amount of gas, actually doing the calculations, and adding that into what they're negotiating for.
They're building like a total package of like
Yeah.
all the inputs.
Yes.
So very high detail.
Which
people.
you never really thought about that before, or I guess I didn't before COVID, but those expenditures, and then the time away. If you're an hour away in Atlanta, you might be 10-15 miles from somewhere and be an hour away during rush hour. So all of that is accounted for, but to me, that's what I see as those are the biggest driving factors.
How important is like the challenging piece of the work? Like they want to be working on stuff that's really, really cool.
They do. Yeah, you get coders like that, for sure. But it still comes down to the money.
Yeah.
I mean, it has to be, that's kind of table stakes.
It's like, it's got to be good, it's got to be cool, and we got to get paid really well.
Yeah, and the higher you go, the more they demand both of those,
Yeah.
straight out of the gate. If it's not something interesting, then they won't even talk to you.
Yeah.
Remote, something interesting, I need to be on the cutting edge technology. What's the newest version of this software,
Yeah.
this coding language that's out? I want to be doing something interesting that's going to be, some people want to, it's big time. That is prevalent.
Yeah, so I mean, you mentioned sometimes you're working with an employer and they might say, hey, we need 30 roles that are fitting this. And if they're doing that remote, they're like just basically standing up a new team, or just generally just expanding?
I think it depends. I think it's, they're our clients, but then they have end clients. So I think a lot of it is client demand driven on both sides. So maybe one of their salespeople lands a big deal, or one of their clients, comes back online and says, we got to go right now, we got funding for this, or, and then they turn around and say, part of what we do is staff augmentation. So, they're like, they've been running lean and they need a team now that can accommodate this client. So they turn around and say, find us 30 people who all can do this, they can work remote, we need it tomorrow. So.
When you started the business, so you basically started a business using the same tactics of how you're recruiting and how you're working in space too. Your whole team's remote, right? When you're based out of
Yes.
Atlanta, but your whole team's remote all over the country?
100%, yep. We have a very small team right now. So to that same point, my business partner and I are 100% hands-on. It's our baby. We bootstrap this with, we've gotten some help along the way, but not any traditional way that any firm I've seen. There was no financial backer. We did it out of our pocket, and a lot of these clients I've been working with since day one. So the first placement I made in staffing is a client who's followed me to 4 different firms, and then now to the firm that I own. So we have several that are like that. So it was unique when we started, because I don't know if this is unique or not, but we had live business that was active that needed to be filled the first day. We were behind the
Well,
eight ball.
I mean, that
first day.
sounds great.
Yeah.
A lot of the times you start
it
a
is.
business and that's not the case.
No,
You
well-
start the business, you're like, all right, let's see if this works.
Yes, we were forced really quick into, and it's in staffing. Well, I guess a lot of people experience this, but a lot of the contract to hire portion of our business is the better we are, the more of a serious cash bubble issue it creates, because we have to hit our payroll every 2 weeks, and we don't have a lag on payroll. So if 40 people start tomorrow, in 2 weeks we have to pay all 40 of those people plus whatever
Yeah,
other
all the-
40
yeah.
people we already have billing, and we're gonna bill the client the day of the invoice, and some are 30, some are 40 net 45, some are net 60. So
And they'll get to it when they,
oh yeah, when they feel like it, which is fine. Like once you get coasting, not coasting, but once we got to the point where we need a nest egg, we need multiple emergency nest eggs, but when you first start and you've been getting a paycheck your entire life, and you're like, all right, when are we going to get paid? And then I'm like, oh, this client's 100 days late on $100,000 of invoices, and our payroll has jumped up to $100K every 2 weeks. So it's awesome, but it was very daunting at first, because you can't.
Can't miss payroll.
No, we never miss payroll. No,
can't
not
miss
in a
payroll.
staffing
Yeah.
business. You're done.
Yeah.
You're cooked. But there was no. We did pursue trying to find. You hear about. This is my ignorance, so if everybody already knows this, apologies. But we started in high hopes. It's like, oh, they have these SBA loans and they have all this, and we start pursuing this, and none of them. We were shut down by almost all of them. You have to be in business for 24 months to be able to even apply for a lot of these loans. So we did whatever we had to do, and I'm way off track on what your question was, but yes, remote. That was what got me off. For that stage of the business, we have been avoiding, we want minimal overhead. So there's laptops, there's people, and we have always been of the mind state that just you're an adult, produce and do your job, and I don't need to lean over your shoulder. Even if I had an office, you could be in here, screwing off in the office. So that's worked so far, but now I think we're transitioning into we may need more payroll, and we may need a lease on the books to, protect what we have been creating. So that's what we're transitioning into right now. So I think the remote thing for us will always stay, because I don't want to be, maybe this is why companies think this, but I don't want to be limited to who is the best at being an account executive for a staffing firm in Atlanta. I want,
there's 5 miles from here.
yeah,
Yeah.
right, who's going to overlap on clients we may already have, or, I want someone who's the best and who wants that freedom and can handle that freedom. So it's a much bigger pond to fish in when we're looking anywhere in the country.
Yeah, I think that push towards maintaining a profitable business is imperative. I think that gets lost a lot of times. But there was a lot of that, maybe it was like 2 years ago, there was a lot of overhiring in tech, and there was a bunch of, we got to cut some of this back because we got to actually still be profitable.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like when we first started our business, remember we got like a $1,500 a month contract. We're like, I think we can quit our jobs now. This will do it.
We'll figure it
Let's
out.
just roll the dice and see how this works.
Yeah.
Well, it worked.
Yeah, it worked, but it was like, we'll see how this goes.
It was huge.
But in the beginning, you just got to be as lean as possible.
Yeah.
But if you lose that over time, you just erodes margin. You can't do that. You got to stay diligent on it all the time.
Yeah, we're hyper focused on that, and I am not disparaging any other firms, but just my experience in firms is they come in, they want to hire, of course you want to hire the heavy hitter in the recruiting space and in the account executive space, who's going to come with a big list of clients and relationships. And in that industry, because of sales, there are non-competes and non-solicits, so the return you're looking at from what you want to gain from that person, you're sitting on this overhead for 2 to 3 years before you're getting a full-on, glorious return where all those clients are on board. And I don't think that is how we want to do that business. We're not at this stage anyways. I mean, I can't afford a multi-$100,000 person we have to bridge for a couple years without seeing that kind of return that's going to pay for itself. So
Yeah, we saw that a lot in like the real estate brokerage space where people were, it's all non-recurring revenue,
Yeah,
but they were getting paid to jump ship and move to different places and take their book of relationships with them, but that doesn't guarantee that they actually keep doing anything there. Because there's no real, the non-compete from the person, but not the customer can go wherever they want to go.
Exactly. And you have to wait for that. You hope those relationships are strong enough to
wait it
last
out.
2 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
And to come with them. Yeah, as well.
Right.
But if they can't talk to them for 2 years, anything can happen.
Yeah.
I've lost clients that I thought I was tight with, waiting on my non-compete to be up in between switching firms. So
Yeah, but I mean, 2 years, going fast paced in business, 2 years is a long time.
that's a very long time.
It's like, we get impatient after like a week. We're like, what has happened?
Yes, a couple
Why-
hours and I'm
Why has
over
this
it, for
contract
sure.
not moved forward? It's like a week later, it's like, okay, 2 years would be, I don't
Yeah, that's tough.
forget what even year 2 years ago was sometimes.
Yeah, me too. I forget last week.
Yes.
Oh, man, cool. All right, well, we really appreciate you being here, explain a little bit how the
course.
placement world works. It's pretty darn exciting, and it's neat to hear the excitement around tech and how it's growing.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Yeah.
Really
And
enjoyed it.
yeah, if people want to get in touch with you, we'll have all that in the show notes at the bottom. But what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Email, text, call,
All of the above?
whatever works for you. Yep, let me
Okay.
know. I will get right back to you.
Cool. All right, Michael, thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate
Thank you
it.
guys. I really appreciate it very much.
Yeah.